All right, you both.
Okay.
Whenever.
Alright. Now, I'm pretty sure most of us know who this person is. Even though we live in America, which happens to be one of the most, if not the most diverse countries in the world, there seems to be a misconception of Buddhism, especially compared to other religions in America. When it comes to Buddhism, some Americans tend to think of the Dalai Lama, Richard Gere, or a bunch of guys who have no hair and just meditate. Speaking of Richard Gere, some people even think of Free Tibet because that's all he talks about in relation to Buddhism. As for myself, I grew up in a Buddhist family, so I didn't have any of these misconceptions. So as I was growing up, I realized that some Americans have certain ideas of Buddhism that I felt should be corrected, especially considering that we're living the 21st century and America is becoming more global than it originally was. So for today, I want to talk about how Buddhism is more than just meditation, peace, and the Dalai Lama and his relationship with Richard Gere. There are three things I want to clarify about Buddhism that are often misunderstood in America. The first thing is that a lot of people believe that all Buddhists belong to the same group or sect. I just want to let you know that in Buddhism there's three main groups. One is Mahayana, which is in East Asia, including Japan, China, and Korea. The other one is Theravada, which is mostly in Southeast Asia and South Asia. And the other one is the Tibetan tradition, which is obviously from Tibet. And just to let you know, the Dalai Lama, even though he's respected by a lot of Buddhists, the only Buddhists who actually follow him as if he were, let's say, the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church would be the Tibetan Buddhists. As for me, I grew up as a Theravada Buddhist, and I go to a Mahayana temple, so we don't really follow him. We will listen to him, but we don't exactly follow him in the same way that Roman Catholics follow the Pope. Secondly, I just want to mention that since Buddhism is such a minority in America compared to other religions, it's rarely mentioned when it comes to religious surveys or topics when it comes to religion. And thirdly, I want to talk about how some people mention that it's more of philosophy, more of a lifestyle, there's nothing religious about it. And this is important to talk about today because, like I said, America is such a diverse country, yet when it comes to Buddhism, there seems to be misunderstanding compared to the others. Many know what the Buddhist name is, but they don't really know it well. So to clarify, I'm going to talk about how it really works in America, how it's actually growing, surprisingly, and the cultural and religious values. As for the credibility, I researched the topic through library research databases, and I go to a temple every Sunday. So first thing I want to talk about is how Buddhism works in America. According to the Buddhist scholar Charles Prebish, Buddhism differs in America because it's a hybrid now. Roughly 20, 30 years ago, there was a clear distinction if you went to a temple. It was either you went to a temple where there were Asians and you were Asian, or you were white and you go to a white temple. But now they're starting to blend things in. As you can see in this picture, it's not all Asians. And these two are monks. Well, actually that's a nun, but as you can see, both of them are white. 20, 30 years ago, you probably wouldn't see this. Even if you were white and you went to a temple, you would probably see Japanese people doing it if it's a Zen place. Basically, Buddhist communities now have changed to the point where they don't exactly go by what is written in the book. They're going to use whatever works for them. Like I mentioned earlier, that there are three different types of Buddhist sects. So some communities in America will take something from one sect and mix it with another to see whatever works for them. And the division, like I mentioned, the division when it comes to race is not as apparent as before, as you can see here. And another example would be there's a local Buddhist temple here, what they call it Buddhist church in Orange County. If you go there, there's a huge diversity. There's Hispanics, Asians, whites, and Africans. Secondly, I want to mention that according to USA Today in July 2012, there was a research done at Baylor University that says that Buddhism is on the rise, which is kind of surprising because when you hear articles or discussions, usually Buddhists are in the minority. According to the 2000 Census Religious poll, it shows that Buddhism and Hinduism are actually on the rise, primarily in the metropolitan cities. And the growth has been steady since the law changes when it comes to immigrations in 1965 and 1992. Most people think that Buddhists are very laid back and peaceful. However, recently it has been shown that Buddhists now voice opinions when it comes to US relations with Buddhist countries. And surprisingly, some churches are actually declining in membership as Buddhists are rising. Third, I want to talk about how Buddhism is actually more religious and cultural than you think. For example, these monks are from Thailand. For Thai people, they say that being Thai is being Buddhist, and this is according to Professor John Eserick of York University in Toronto. Most Thai people always try to donate to monks, such as giving food and giving supplies, so that way that by doing so, they feel that they can have a good rebirth, which is reincarnation into the next life. Most people feel that reincarnation is not really scientific, so it falls more into the religious part. So I wouldn't really say that's a philosophical thing. So today I hope that all of you learn more about Buddhism, because America is such a diverse country that we really need to know, understand, and appreciate each other even more. Thank you.
So Esther, what did you think?
I thought the strong points were he was very calm, or you were very calm, and you signposted whatever you were about to say, gave us previews. And I thought the improvements would be explaining a little more what the sets were. And the visual aids were very relevant, and overall it was very interesting.
Okay.
No, I'm not using picture here.
Let me start with something that's a little bit contradictory, because I thought that you did use your time pretty well. I mean, you kind of hit the 7-minute mark, which is our baseline for what we're looking at, 7 to 8 minutes. But you spent 3.5 minutes with your introduction before you really got to the body of the speech. There's this long background section. It seems like a lot of that material should have been one of your supporting points. In fact, I was looking at one point saying, oh, well, this is going to be problematic because there's no preview in the speech. And then about 3 minutes into the speech, I started hearing what amounted to a preview of the structure of the speech. I'm going, oh my gosh, it's kind of late in the process. So I know that sounds a little contradictory, I mean, because you did meet the 7-minute floor, but I think that the time distribution was a little bit problematic. Like I said, I think a lot of the information at the beginning of the speech should have been its own point, not just part of the background information. Yeah, I'd have to agree with Esther about the one thing. That was the first question that came into my mind. What is the difference between the 3 sects that you mentioned? I mean, I know that the Tibetans follow the guidelines of the Dalai Lama. How about the others? You know, what's different? And one of the things that was also interesting during the time that you were talking about it, you say, you know, they generally, you know, people pick and choose. They create all those kinds of things. It's not like they're by the book Buddhists. And I'm going, what's the book? You know, you got the Quran and the Bible and the Talmud are the books for those other major religions. And one of the things I'm thinking about, okay, well, is there a unifying philosophical work that all Buddhists look to but maybe pick and choose from? And I didn't really get any reference to that. So there was a little bit less information about some of the technical stuff that I think might have been helpful at clarifying those points. It was pretty well organized. When you got to the body of the speech, I could hear the signposts each time you got to that. So it's clear that you're moving from point to point. I think your movement between those points needs to be a little bit more graceful. You need to find some transition phrases that help you do that. The visuals, I think, are effective. They illustrate the things that you're talking about for the most part. They're interesting. They pull us in. I did wonder at the end when you showed us that last, we got the pie chart with the number of people that are identify themselves as Buddhists in the country, and you said it's increasing. I'm going, okay, well, how would that increase be reflected? Is there a statistic? Do we have twice as many Buddhists as we had in 2000? Here we are 13 years later. It's one, that's, I think that statistic was from the 2000 census, wasn't it?
I mentioned 2010.
Okay, so what was it before? If it's increasing, then if you had a comparative, for instance, where in 2000 it was 0.5%, and now it's up to 100, a full percentage point. Well, we've had 100% increase in the number of Buddhists in the country, and I think that does show that point that you're making. So it was an okay piece of information. It just felt a little less complete than it could have been. I think the pacing needs to be a little bit more energetic. You are relaxed while you're talking about that, maybe even reflecting people's stereotypes of Buddhists because, it's so calm and deliberative and that sort of thing. But I think that you need to have a little bit more force in the presentation. You need to think, I've got this end goal, I need to move there a little bit more quickly. And like I said, I think part of that is emphasized by the long introductory material. And that needs to be edited some way. All right, thank you.